Happy New Year! Listen, I wish I had all of the confetti. I wish I had the balloons, the streamers, and all of that good stuff, but I don't. But guess what I do have? I do have you, and you've got me. And guess what? This is a brand new year. Welcome to 2024. The Jazzy Conversations with Jazz podcast is going to continue to consistently air every Monday at 7 p.m. right here on IG Live, moving over to Facebook as well. And you know that you can find me on YouTube as well. 2024 is here, everybody, and it is already fantastic. It is amazing. It is going to be such a blessed year for you and I just cannot wait to ride it until the wheels fall off of 2024. So listen, if you are tuned in, thank you so much. Thank you so much, Miranda. I see you, boo. I see you. I love you. I pray for you. I am so glad that you are on this live right now. Thank you so much for tuning in. I see that my special guest for this episode of episode 106 is looking, and she'll be coming on in just a second. Thank you so much. Share this video. Let me know what your New Year's resolutions are. And I know a lot of people don't like to go with the New Year's resolution, so we can just go with our New Year plan. What's your plan? What's your aspirations? What are you going to conquer in this new year? Look, I'm excited. If you are not a part of the Jazzy crew already, it is so easy. Let me tell you what you have to do. All you have to do is make sure that you are subscribed on IG, Facebook, on YouTube, and your favorite podcast platform. It is that simple. Make sure that you hit the notifications bell on your favorite platform, and make sure that you like, that you share, that you leave me a review in the comment section. And that's all you have to do, and just show support. Share this, like it, spread the word. If you are new here, let me remind you, the Jazzy Conversations with Jazz podcast is a podcast that celebrates the power of the comeback. I believe that you can come back from anything with God, the right resources, and knowing how to use them effectively, and the willingness to do the work. Just 3 things that you have to stay committed to. And I believe, I know for a fact, I've lived through it. I've met over 100 guests that have proven this theory right. If you follow those things, you definitely can make your comeback. So in the comment section, let me know how you are doing. Tag your favorite person in the comment section. Make sure you tag at least 5 of your favorite people in the comment section. Look, I gotta learn how to share these videos while I am on live. Listen, before we get into this interview, I don't necessarily start the interview off like this, but listen, I had to go into the hot topics of today. And so you know how you're scrolling and you're just looking at things that are relevant to the day, relevant to the time of year. Let me tell you something. I don't know why I didn't catch a flight to Atlanta, because apparently everybody in Atlanta at a particular congregation was having fun last night, bringing it to the new year. And I saw a lot of mixed reviews in it and all of that good stuff. But good sir, Mr. Bishop William Murphy of the Dream Center in Atlanta, come holler at your girl. I just, y'all was in there walking it out. Y'all was in there swagging, serving. I'm like, listen, I inboxed my best friend and I was like, Bestie, look, do we need to take a trip to Atlanta next year? I don't know. How do you guys feel about that? I know people have mixed feelings about it. Like, I've seen so many different varying opinions about it on social media today. I just left TikTok not too long ago and they were weighing in it as well. And I brought that up because one of my goals is to get closer to God this year. Like, I literally want to feel that that closeness in spirit, that closeness in fellowship and in service. And so I was looking at this story and I'm like, wow, like, okay, saints, that's what we doing. Like, y'all, you avoided the club, but the club was brought to you, right? So I just thought that I was like, that's interesting. That's what I'm gonna start calling these little topics. That's interesting. So listen, I don't think it's gonna be anything that he's gonna have to make a comeback for, because I think getting the publicity is just going to engage in that conversation. But church is that sacred place. So We already know how it's gonna be taken. We'll be hearing about this story for probably the next 2 or 3 days. Lord, if it hits Shade Room, if it hasn't already, we already know how that is going to pan out. So listen, starting out the new year, y'all, I needed somebody special to come and share a word. I needed somebody who would set our new year off right, and I could not have picked a better guest. She has been doing her due diligence career wise, professionally, and in her own business. Coach Lee is who I am referencing, Miss Alicia Smith, Esquire, y'all, because she is an attorney. She is a criminal defense attorney, and she's doing her thing. She's so talented. She's so smart, and she has her own business. We're going to get into what it is because it is something that we all need. So I am going to accept her request because I definitely do see her request. I'm going to accept it and then hope. Y'all know how Instagram does me sometimes. It lets the guest on immediately, and then sometimes it makes us go through the rigmarole. So what I'm going to do, Alicia, is I am going to request you, and let's see how that goes. So let me request you. So I just sent a request for you, and so she should be coming on very shortly. And so I want you guys definitely during this interview, I want you to comment, post, share, like, all of those good things. And then Alicia, continue to request me back and forth because Instagram just does what Instagram wants to do sometimes. So I just sent you a request. So see if you can accept it. And if not, we will keep going back and forth. So let's see how this is going to go. So I'm continuing to request her. There we are. There we are. We are cooking with grease right now. I see you, Alicia. How are you, madam? We got it. We
There we
got it.
go. Happy Monday. I am good. How are you? Happy New
Listen,
Year.
I'm good. Happy Monday to you too. Miss, I've already planned my whole year out.
Not
Good God.
quite.
Not
Not
quite.
quite. We still work in progress. We making progress.
Still making progress. So how are you? How was your new year?
My New Year was good. I made it to midnight. I took a nap and then I woke up at 11. So I watched
Okay.
the last hour at church. But we made it.
We
We
made
made
it.
it.
We made it.
House was,
That's what's good.
house was clean. Trash was out. Everything was done.
Of course. Of course. Meanwhile, I'm sitting here still trying to complete my task of finishing cleaning up. I'm like, good Lord, like it never stops. And I was like, what's so funny is all day today, I kept thinking about what would Alicia say? What would she tell me to do? What would she do? I'm like, I have got to get this time management thing down packed because we lose so much time in the day, but we have so much more to talk about in terms of that. But go ahead and introduce yourself. I gave you a small introduction because I wanted to give you just due to introduce yourself and tell everybody who you are.
Okay. I'm Alicia, aka Coach Lee. I'm a criminal defense attorney by day, but like I like to say, productivity and accountability coach throughout. I'm all about helping you to maximize your time, find that hidden time in your day because we have goals, we have purpose, we have passions, we have so many things that we want to pursue. But life be life that we be trying to adult that we often say that we don't have time.
Right.
So I'm all about helping you to find that hidden time in your day that you can pour back into yourself, your goals, your life passions, while not neglecting those current responsibilities that you have going on.
How did you become passionate in this particular area?
It found me. Like,
Okay.
I guess I never really realized that people struggled with time management because people
Mm-hmm.
used to always ask me, like, how do you do it all? How do you get so much done? Like, how are you doing all these things? And I'm like, what do you mean? Like, it's just normal. And, so then the backup thing will be like, well, you must never sleep or, you must stay up late and all this stuff. And I'm like, I sleep. I sleep. I don't stress myself out. Like, in terms of work, I don't bring work home. I leave work at 5 o'clock. Like, what y'all talking about? And so then I realized that people struggled with time and time management. And the funny thing is, I told myself that people were like, you should be a life coach. And I'm like, I don't got time for that. Like,
Yeah.
I'm a whole lawyer. Like, when you want me to be a life coach? Then the pandemic happened. And it was like, oh, you don't have time? Say less. I got you.
Right. Listen, have you, because first of all, it is so amazing to me to see people that you predict are going to be successful. Like, a lot of people equate getting good grades. I'll just stick with getting good grades. Like, people tend to associate someone who gets good grades as someone who's going to be automatically successful. And just watching you grow up, like, I mean, it's surreal to like have you here because you are like a grown woman right now in her career, basking in her career, and doing so many great things. But just seeing you were on that trajectory of the, good grades, never got in trouble, just very goal oriented, like ever since you were little. And so you are now successful, and so you are one of those predictable stories of this. Yeah, she's definitely gonna make something of herself. And so I wanted to just tell you in this space of the interview how proud I am of you. And I see you. I'm elated for all the things that you are doing, and it's been fascinating finding out the things that you are doing. So congratulations to everything that you have achieved, young lady.
Thank you, thank you, thank you.
You are welcome. So listen, like, have you always been this goal oriented? Like, is it just something that just naturally comes to you? Um, I don't want to call it a type A, but you may have already considered yourself a type A personality. People always say that I am. So I'm just throwing it back at you. But have you always been that way?
I guess kind of, yes. But I
Okay.
think growing up, it was more, I won't say nerdy, but like I've always liked knowledge. I've always liked, like, school came relatively easy to me, but I still like the challenge and the competition. Like, and then once I kind of knew that I wanted to be a lawyer, it was like, oh, it takes 7 years to be a lawyer. And I'm like, all right, yeah, we're going to do that quicker.
Bet.
Like, the way that I ended up going to collegiate high school was the flyer came in the mail. And I told my mom and dad and them, I pretty much brought the flyer to them and was like, hey, this came in the mail. I need one of y'all to take me to this because I need to go to this school.
Yeah.
It was pretty much like, hey, this needs to happen.
Right.
So I'm not really sure what that looks like, but can y'all get me over there, please? Thank you.
Right. Right. I like it. I like it. So what does it do for you? Because we talk of you, like, when you are speaking of your work, it's more of, optimizing, a professional's opportunities to optimize their work, their goals, everything that surrounds what they want to do. And so how do you even start with that?
In terms of like finding that hidden time
In terms
aspect of it,
of finding
or
the hidden time, in terms of finding a winning formula, like, because I would assume that each client's time is a little bit different, but sometimes it kind of like find itself in a organic formula that you can repeat over and over. But like, so how do you set the plan for someone to optimize their time?
I think it's a cross between there's a formula and there's not a formula.
Okay.
Because for me, I like one-on-one coaching, like working with my clients one-on-one, because everybody is different. Like you said, everyone's time is different. You might be a mom running a business. You might be an entrepreneur who doesn't go into a 9 to 5. You might be working a 9 to 5, building a business, but still have these other things happening and going on. So for me, it's a cross between there's a formula, but the formula is me. And that's not like in a cocky way or anything like that. But I tried a lot of stuff to figure out what works for me. And I take bits and pieces of multiple things to make it work for me. So because I've tried so many different things and working with clients and trying to figure out, the main question starts with, where is your time going? And so then we can understand where your time is going, to reverse engineer to figure out where you want it to go. But understanding that every person is different and being willing to give them and allow them that individuality and the personalization of, this will work for you, by testing and trying to figure out what works for them. So like understanding what they tried that didn't work, and then using what I've learned, the various things to say, okay, well, if this didn't work, this might work for you because that's the opposite of this. Or, oh, you like this, but this part didn't work. And so essentially building a custom plan, building them their own, like I call it, their simple success formula, like it's personalized to you.
Okay. So trial and error. Like, take me back to, you have this idea that you are great with managing your time. You know how to do it for yourself. Talk to me about your first client and how did that go?
For me, so I guess I am type A, because if I'm gonna do something, I'm gonna do it right.
Yes.
And I'm not, and what I'm about to say is not a knock to anybody who doesn't do it. But technically, to be a life coach, to coach, you don't have to get any training. You don't have to get certification, because it really is a lot based off of personal experience, like your personal life. Like, it's not like law, nursing, anything like that, to where you have to show somebody a certificate to be able to open the door. Because technically, I don't think productivity and accountability is really a type of coach. I'm a life coach, but I specialize in this area. But for me, if I'm going to do something, I'm going to do it right. So the lawyer in me is like, we got to have an LLC. We got to have a website. We got to get coaching. So I started kind of, because of the pandemic and having so much time. Literally, I made it about 3 weeks into the pandemic before I was like, okay, I read entirely too many books, done too many puzzles. And the thoughts of people saying that you should be a life coach like came back to me. So I started Googling it. And then I found a coaching program, which is Transformation Academy, which is what I ended up doing. They're actually based out of like Tampa and Clearwater.
Okay.
And so like I started watching the video, and I was like 2 minutes into the first video, and I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
I see. But because I also knew that I'm learning, like, I don't want to charge somebody as I also learn. I reached out to 1 or 2 of my friends that was like, hey, I know, you're transitioning in this area. He was like leaving college and going into the adult world or whatever. So I pretty much reached out. I was like, hey, I know you was talking about like trying to build a schedule, trying to do these type of things. I'm trying to get into coaching. Would you would you let me coach you for free? And you critique me and tell me like ways that I can improve, what you like, what you didn't, if it works, and kind of go from there. So for me, it was, I needed a guinea pig of somebody to for me to work with, because I started my business in 2020, like pandemic, but I registered and made it official January 1 of 2021. So this is official. Today is 3 years in business.
Congratulations.
Actually, about that. Today is 3 years in business. Thank you. So like I was kind of doing all the behind the scenes from, let's say, April, May through December, like getting the website up, registering my LLC, taking the classes, practicing with the clients, and kind of building out and figuring out what that was going to look like.
Mm-hmm. When you think about just time management in itself, I'm telling you what I do. Because at one point I was getting good at it, as I thought. But what I realized what I was doing is I was getting really good at documenting where I wasted my time. So I was sitting there like literally for the past 5 years, which is a very long time. Like I literally, when I get to work, I have a journal. Like I have to create a to-do list. Like on one side of it, because it's a steno pad and it's like divided into like that one line. It's like on one side I'll put to do. And then I'll go to my personal side. And then on the other side, I'll do time tracker. I literally call it like my time tracker. And so like as soon as I sit down at my desk, like I'll look at the clock and I'll put like from, let's just say from 8 o'clock, and I'll just leave it blank. And then I'll just start working, and I'll say, okay, like from 8 to whatever, this is what I accomplished. And I do that. Like I meticulously track it now, and I know what I'm doing. And then but I never really go back and I analyze it, because it's like I keep it in my head. But one day, like when I knew I was doing this interview, I'm like, oh my God, it's like I knew that I was wasting time in some area. And I'm like, okay, well, will I consider that a waste of time, or would I consider that sort of kind of productivity on the job, because I'm getting ideas for the job there? But I'm like, dang, I spent this much time doing this. And then sometimes it's like the time really got away from me. So like, what are some of the, I guess, foundational strategies that you would try to tell someone who's trying to manage their time?
I like that you make a
don't
list.
Do that.
Starting with
don't
making
do that. Don't try to appease me.
No. Like literally, if you see my desk, like I have notebooks. Like I'm a list person.
Yeah.
So making a list is the first thing, because if you don't, sometimes, a lot of times, we spin our wheels trying to figure out what to do, because you got all these thoughts in your head, and you're like, well, I got to do this, and this. But if you at least write it down, you've gotten it out of your head. Because think about how oftentimes, like, you'll walk to another room in the house, or you'll tell yourself, like, when I get over, like, don't forget this, don't forget this, don't forget this, don't forget this. Or you're in the shower and you get this idea and you keep repeating it to yourself to quote unquote, don't forget this thing.
Right.
Because you think you're going to remember it, because you keep saying it to yourself. And then you get over there and you're like, what was the thing? Right. But when you write it down, yes, it might leave your head, but you can go look at that piece of paper and say, oh, okay, this is what I needed to do. So by having this list of things you need to do, and like I do this in like every area of my life. Like on Fridays for work, I do a brain dump of what my to-do list is for the next day. Like, so for me, like the next week.
Right.
On the weekend, I do my brain dump for like business and life of what I need to do. And I like to do it on the weekend leading into, so that when I come to work, I can come in ready to work, as opposed to come in ready to think about what I need to do.
Okay.
So it also helps me in terms of like work. I know when I come in, like, do I have court? So like, do I need a full suit today, or can I be, a little bit more business casual? So in terms of even knowing what I'm putting on to go to work. But I would say that, like, aside from making the list, you can track your time, but you can reverse track your time. So instead of like, I guess I would say choose a task that you're going to work on, instead of starting something and then, okay, 8 a.m. until this. You know what's on your list, so choose something and say, I'm going to check email for 30 minutes, or, whatever that task is that you're deciding on, and then set a timer. I found this, it's been on the computer. I'm pretty sure most computers, especially like Windows computers, have it. There's like a clock that's on the computer, and when you click on it, there's one that says timer, and you can set yourself a timer, and then as long as your computer is awake, the timer will go off. So if you set a timer, like I want to check my email for the next 15 minutes. It doesn't go completely in like every 5-minute increments, but roughly. You set a timer, and like I use that now all the time. I'm a competitive person, so a lot of times I'm racing the timer. Like, okay, I said I'm gonna give myself 20 minutes to do this. Yeah, I'm gonna do it in 15. And then I can use the 5 minutes to scroll on social media to get ready for the next task, or whatever the case may be.
Okay, I like that. Sometimes I do like a combination of the two. Sometimes I do a combination of the two, and then I just find that I'm not really that anal with, if I didn't finish what I set out to finish that day, but then sometimes I am. So it's like, I don't know, it's kind of like a cyclical rhythm of like this. It's not really like, yay, we did it. You know what I'm saying? It's just like, oh, okay, so let me try to get that time back or whatever. And then what I am too is like I always tell people, like, I'm not really, I've never considered myself to be the traditional, like, your 9 to 5 person, because I'm a night owl. And like, I feel that I do like my best work at night anyway. So it's like, whatever I don't finish at work, I'm finishing it at night. However, Miss, I never take any work home. I'm trying to be like you. And listen, I used to do this like when I first started in administration, like school administration. And I'll never forget, my assistant principal used to be like, look, when you take this seat, or when you're here, he was like, I don't even have my work emails linked to my phone. He was like, I leave work home. And it's like, I'm flabbergasted. Like, what are you talking about? We got to move this school. We have this, we got to do. What do you mean? Like, but I quickly learned. But like right now, just because I didn't do what I was supposed to do, like I'm backed up. So now I have to take work home. So I look at you, and I am not necessarily amazed. I marvel at you, because I feel that you're able to just stick to this routine. And I just want to know the magic sauce. Like, how do you do it? God dog it. Like, are you just wired like it?
It's been built with time.
Okay.
It's in knowing, like, I'm a creature of habit. So yes, life is going to happen. There are going to be different things that pop up. But generally speaking, I know what I'm doing on every given day. Like, especially with having this business on the weekends, that's business time. Being that I work for the government, any government holiday that I get, that's an extra day to work my business. But like, I have a schedule. Like Saturdays, for example, I wake up in the morning, I go for a run, I meet with my coach, I meal prep, and then I go about my day, like prepping for the week and all that other stuff. But it comes with building a habit. And I know you mentioned being a night owl. It's also a part of knowing yourself. I'm the opposite of you. I'm a morning person. I go to bed about 8:30. I'm gonna tell you what time I wake up. Don't yell, don't scream. I get up at 2:30 because I'm a morning person. I get up at 2:30. I get up at 2:30. I do my morning routine. I read my devotional, read my personal development, brush my teeth, all of that stuff, lay out my clothes. And by 3:45ish, 4 o'clock, I'm in my office. So basically, I finish my morning routine in my room. I pack my lunch for work, set my lunchbox and everything with the containers in there for work. Then I come into my office and I work on business from about 4:15ish, depending on what time I get in the office, until about 5 o'clock-ish. No, about 5:15. And then I go take my pre-workout and I work out. So my workout, by 5:30 at the latest, I'm pushing play on my workout, and I'm finishing up between like 6:10, 6:15, shower, get dressed, head out the door to go to work. But I'm a morning person. So it's twofold. Number one, I have to, but I want to, because I need to pour into me first. Because if I'm running this business to where I get home from work like 6:15, and if my coaching calendar opens at 6:30, when do I do like the back end stuff for my business? Like if I have to send emails, do my personal development, those type of things, I have to get that done in the morning. If I have to prep for a coaching call, I have to get that stuff done, because I'm not yet 100% booked and busy to where every day I have these coaching calls after work, but I have specific days that I know I have calls after work. So if I get home at 6:10 and my calendar open at 6:30, that means I got 20 minutes to get home, eat, get situated, and get in front of this computer. Mm-hmm. And if my coaching calendar is open from 6:30 to 8, and my last call can start at 8 for me to be done, so I can still get in my bed at 8:30, like I do a nightly story and everything on Instagram before I go to bed. So like 8:30, 8:45ish, I'm recording that story so I can get into bed. So yes, I get up at 2:30, but if you really calculate the time, I'm still getting about 6-ish hours of sleep.
Okay.
But I know that I'm a morning person.
Yeah, but because you know that about yourself.
Right.
Because I was gonna, and that's kind of segueing into what I was gonna ask you, because how do you help the person who's a procrastinator and who doesn't necessarily have a set schedule? Like, what's your method of helping that person, knowing the type of schedule that you have? Like, do you ever see it as a conflict of, I need for you to be more, strict with your time? Or how do you infuse that into a customized schedule session for them, or, a session for them that will help them get on a schedule that will be right for them?
I would say, yes, I push them to be more structured with their time, because typically that's why they're coming to me, because they've been procrastinating, because they've been putting things off, because they're not getting things done, or they get things done, but they're not really sure how they got it done. And it's like, okay, something's got to give. Like, I can't keep doing this. So yes, I do push them to get on a schedule. Not saying that the schedule has to be my schedule. It starts with kind of understanding, when do you work best? When do you typically get things done? Because as adults in life, even at work, especially, with you being in administration and being, like with being in administration, you have other people who are coming to you. So your time isn't necessarily always your time. You possibly can't always just close the door and be like, I need an hour. Right. Sometimes you can, but sometimes you can't. So number one is going to depend on, like, are they working for themselves? Do they work for others? What are their other responsibilities? But it's kind of understanding, what would your ideal day look like? Like, if we're trying to build a schedule for, like, your day-to-day life, or sometimes they're coming to me because they're building in something new. Like, okay, I've been working, but now I need to study for this course. Where do I fit this into my time? Mm-hmm. This might not only be a temporary project, but you still have to find a place to put it. So it kind of starts with understanding what has worked for you in the past, what hasn't. Why do you think this worked? Why do you think it didn't? And then kind of understanding from there, where do they best use their time? Like, are they a morning person? Are they a night owl? Mm-hmm. What can they do to get their energy up? Because like I said, I'm a morning person, but as an attorney, oftentimes my mornings are spent in court, which means the afternoon is when I have to get most of my work done in between office conferences, depositions, and things like that as well, in between the other things that are already on my calendar and schedule, which is why me making my to-do list and knowing what days do I have uninterrupted time. Like, okay, I don't have court, I don't have nothing on my calendar, so I can just sit in my office and work. That's kind of how I build my schedule. But I also know that me getting outside, like going outside for a walk, re-energizes me. So if I'm feeling like a slump, I go for a walk, like typically right before lunch, because, Florida, right now it's wintertime, so we okay. But in the summertime, after 12 o'clock, it's too hot to be out there. So I would go like right before lunch, basically, go for a walk. And then that gets my brain going. And it also resets me. So if I was frustrated earlier in the day, this is going to be my reset to get myself back together. So it's kind of working with my clients to figure out what is their thing. For them, it might be, okay, I have this cup of coffee, or I talk to my friend, or I do, figuring out what it is that kind of gets them back going if you're in a slump or if you're in a funk, how to reset your mood, and then figuring out what that looks like in the confines of your day. Because some people have more flexible schedules to where they're able to, like, okay, I can go out for a walk real quick. Some don't. Like, it's going to depend, and we have to figure out how to work with the time that they're given and the confines that they have. But also with finding and maximizing that time, if you have this commute for work, if you have all these other things that are happening, how can we do stuff within that time?
What do you
said
do?
Doctor's appointments, but go ahead.
What do you do with, like, the client that is just not listening to your strategies? Like, how do you hone in on them? Like, as I'm listening to you, I'm in my mind, I'm thinking, well, what does Alicia's typical client look like? Because obviously when an adult comes and they seek help from someone, they have to do the work. But we all know, like, I know people who've gone to therapy, and you know, if the idea is great, the effort that you're putting forth, the first step is amazing, but the therapist would even tell you, if you're not going to do the work, it is not going to work. Like, I can teach you every strategy, we can talk for hours, but if you won't do the work, it's not going to work. So what do you do with that client that is just really just hard to work with? Like, how do you work with that type of a client?
I will say that I don't think I've had one that was that bad.
Okay. Okay.
But I think, generally speaking, you're coming to me. So you're saying that something has to give. I didn't show up on your doorstep.
Right.
Like, I mean, maybe I did because of something you posted on social media or a question you asked me. Therefore, I might have offered my services or something like that. But generally speaking, like, you're coming to me. So you saw something that I was doing that you wanted for your life. And change is hard. You have to decide, like, one of the things that we do, like in our initial sessions, like I give them like a goals worksheet and kind of outline, like, rank these 1 to 10. What do you want to get out of our 6 weeks of working together? Like, all of that. And one thing that I will do is, if they're rebelling or pushing back or not willing to try something new, is like, this was the why that you had when you came in.
Right.
Is that no longer your why? So it's almost like a gut check to them. But one of the questions that I even have on my questionnaire is like, how do you like to be motivated? I'm a tough love person. Call me out. Don't, oh, honey, darling me. Some people are like that. So I like to know what my clients are. Because if you are you need this soft approach, but a lot of times, most of my clients, they need that, give it to me straight. Like, girl, what you doing?
Yeah.
I'll take your money, but, like, what you doing?
What you doing? What are you doing? I love that. And I'm asking for myself, because I'm just like, if I was to seek your services, like you said it in a nutshell, like, change is hard. Change is hard. Listen, let me tell you, like, a funny story. It's not a funny story at all, because I'm not happy at all. Like, my phone just completely, and I bet people who are like my friends, they're going to be applauding right now. You know how when you pay off your cell phone, I am not this person that has to get the latest cell phone. Like, I don't care about that stuff. Like, I just truly don't. And so I will rock with the phone until the wheels fall off. And so the wheels apparently fell off yesterday. And I'm on a new phone right now, and I'm so not happy about it. Like, I am so not happy about it. Like, the people at the store were just laughing at me because everything, and then, like, because it just went black. And so that limited the ability to transfer all of my stuff from my old phone, which is on my, my life is on there, to my new phone. So, like, all day today, I've been putting in passcodes, and and I'm just like, this is driving me insane because it's new and it's changed. And I'm just like, who wants this phone? And then, of course, my old phone turns on today. So I'm just like, really? Like, just like, really? This is what we doing? Like, I'm like this close to going back to that store and say, hey, let's reverse this whole transaction, because I'm good.
Put it back.
I'm good now. I'm good now. And so, like, because all of my alarms and all of that is on that old phone. So it's like, goodness grief. But there are some upsides to it, or whatever, that I'm finding to have this new phone as well. And so I feel like when you're able to clear space, when you're able to clear time, I think I've heard it where they say that it goes hand in hand. Like, when you have a clear area in your home, like a clear pathway and all of that, and then you're able to free up space, it just really, really takes a load off of you physically. And so
Yeah.
what are the benefits of, we all know that they're going to be great benefits, but tell me like some of the success stories that you've had with your clients.
I would say generally along the lines of what you're saying is typically you come into coaching for one area, but what you might not realize, or maybe you do, is that your productivity or your inability to get things done, your disorganization in this one area of your life is bleeding over into the other areas, whether you realize it or
For
not.
sure.
Like your stress at work is bleeding over into your personal life because you come home frustrated, possibly yelling at your kids, your spouse, yourself, just want to come home and just veg out on the couch and watch TV and eat all the things because you had a horrible day at work. You're stressed at home in your personal life, or you not having a morning routine or this evening routine leads you to being late at work, which makes you now have a bad day at work, and you just keep repeating the cycle. So oftentimes when you're able to get a hold on this one area, you come in for this one area, you start seeing the trickle effect into the other areas. It's kind of how I like, even with goal setting, like you don't come into the new year trying to make all these 360 changes, these complete changes in all these areas. You kind of choose a couple areas and ease into it. But I would say like one of, I think my funniest, best, happiest, I guess you could say, success story is, it's another lawyer. We were working together, and we were trying to get her a schedule because she was working, like she owns her own firm. So she works late, she brings work home, she doesn't like spend time with her family. It's always like, I gotta work on this, I gotta work on this. And I'm like, but why, girl? Like, why? And I'm like, how is that affecting you? And so then we built her a schedule, and I was like, okay, talk to me about your ideal day. What do you do in the morning? What do you do in the evening? What do you want to do? All of these things. We built that schedule, and like I sent it to her. Like I think we met on Saturday or Sunday. We met, sent the schedule. I sent it to her the next day. She told her secretary pretty much, this is my schedule. Do something with the calendar. If somebody called during these times, I'm not available. So her secretary, I think, would leave at like say 5:30. So she would yell when she's leaving, "Hey, I'm out. You packing up?"
Right.
And but the funny thing is we built on her schedule because she wanted to have like an hour after the office closed for like downtime to get anything done to where everything was done. So the office closed at 5. I think her secretary left at maybe 5:30, and then she would leave at 6. Supposed to. She was walking out the door with the secretary.
I love it. I love it.
And so then as a result of that, she was able to start working out, spending more time with her partner, coming home. They ate dinner together, which meant she was eating healthier food than the junk food she was getting from the drive-through. Like it flowed into these other areas. Like that was the quick, like when you're truly ready for change, you'll implement and you'll change. Like, was I expecting her to make this literal overnight 24, 48-hour change? Absolutely not.
Yeah.
Like, obviously, I'm proud of her for it, but she's been able to stick with it. Like, a couple weeks, like, we missed a couple sessions, and she was like, "Ooh, sorry, this happened." She's like, "But, sorry I missed your call, but this is what I did." Like, I didn't hit 5 days in the gym. I hit 3 days. I had this unexpected call come up, but I told them to hold on, and I did this. And so she even talked through, like, when life, like, she ended up having, like, a death in her family, so she had to, like, fly to New York. She was like, I was able to still finish this motion, get there, spend time with them. I came back. I wasn't stressed. I wasn't overwhelmed. Like, I came back into work. I worked like an hour late, but being that I was gone unexpectedly for a week, to come back to work and only work an hour late, you're doing something right, girl.
Yeah. That's amazing.
Yeah.
That, I'm telling you, that I don't think sometimes people don't really understand that time is definite, or the gift that time is. Like the whole full weight of time. Because it's something that we cannot get back, but it is something that we can be gifted if we understand how to use it. And so I transitioned from going full throttle with the school administrator things. Like, I still have administrative duties, but I'm in a different role, like really a literal role that was created that I went to is still in leadership, which is great. It is like the hours are conducive to what I like, but then I'm like, whoo, this is kind of different. So now I really got to structure my day, really, really according to this new schedule. But then I'm like, ooh, but it's taking up this much time, but I'm like, but I don't have all that time that I had to spend. And so I'm getting used to it. And so it's just that time thing is just a a huge factor in
Yeah.
people's lives. And I think what I like what you said when you're starting with the goal setting, like what is your goal, like what you want to accomplish, and so that's how you kind of work the individual schedule. So I really, you are the first person, although I know that there are people who do this work, but you really are like the first person and I'm like, huh, that's not a bad idea. That's actually an ingenious idea. Like, why would you not want to hire somebody to help you, optimize your day? And so I saw your post from today. I shared it in my story, and you were talking about the 2024 year, and you were talking about goal setting your personal goals, your business goals, your life goals, etc. And let's talk about that. Like, how do you, Coach Lee, start with goal setting? Because it's so funny. I one caveat of it, in terms of trying to goal set and all that. We want to, us ladies, sometimes we're like, we want to be finer this year, so we're gonna go get in the gym. And one of the one of the trainers that I know, one of his posts was like, all right, don't y'all come in here getting in our way, hogging up all the machines on the first when y'all setting these goals. Because, we've been in here, we've been here every day. And here y'all come January 1st. And I just thought that was so funny because I'm like, well, yeah, I did say I was going to go to the gym, but I didn't go. So, like, what is your method of setting these goals?
Now, I'm a person of faith, so like I believe in
Okay.
God. So
Yes,
it's not
ma'am.
all me. I write down like as stuff like actually this notebook right here. It's like as I kind of start goal setting in terms of 2024, like in terms of for the year, like the beginning of December, so that it's
Okay.
not a rush. So it's kind of like I start thinking about almost kind of like reflecting, like where did I come from? Where did I go? What did I like? What do I want more of? All those type of things. And I kind of just start writing down words or ideas and kind of essentially almost like letting them marinate for a little bit and be like, okay, this is something that I want to make an actual goal. Because what I've realized in the last couple of years is that oftentimes we set these goals for the year, but we don't know the plans. Like we making our plans, but
Right.
God,
Right.
whoever you do or do not believe in, got other plans. And a lot of times we set out with these goals, one, because other people make it seem like we need to have them, not because you truly actually want that thing. And two, you set out with these goals, but you get a quarter, halfway, 3/4 of the way through the year. And sometimes you find yourself frustrated that you haven't achieved the goals or made progress with it. But if you
Right.
actually look, you're not actually in alignment with it. That's not actually something that you want. And so this year specifically, I tried to be a lot more loose with my goals for the year, but honing in and focusing more on like my quarterly or my monthly goals.
Okay.
Because those are more short-sighted, because the year is the book. The quarters are the sections. The month are the chapters, and each day to day is the page.
Mm-hmm.
You can focus a lot more. Like, no, we still can't completely predict the future, but you kind of have a better idea of the next 30 to 90 days versus the next 366 since it's a leap year. And so I kind of just like jot down thoughts or ways that I can improve. Like, okay, you did good in this area. How can you up level that? How can you take that to the next level? And so like I set goals for business, for work, and then my personal life as well. So that's kind of how I started in terms of, I don't sit down one day and like, I'm setting my goals today.
Okay.
I kind of let them percolate and then sit down with kind of like those ideas. And I try to keep it all when I'm in that process, like in one spot. So when I sit down, I can sit down with this one piece of paper and look at all the different things that I jotted down to kind of say, what am I feeling? Like, what feels right?
Okay. Do you like vision board parties? Like, do you believe in their power?
Yes and no. In the past, I think I was a big vision board. Actually, I don't know. And maybe it was because it was the end thing to do, so like I felt like I had to do one. Last year, I wasn't gonna make a vision board. One, I don't have magazines, so it was like, what? We're gonna go buy magazines to cut them up, to put them up. So like 2 years ago, I did one on Canva. Then I just printed out the piece of paper and put it on like a piece of cardstock, so something harder, so it wasn't, just a piece of regular paper. But then last year, I did a vision board, but it wasn't like pictures and things like that. It was, I pretty much wrote my goals, like these are the goals for each area, put them on a piece of paper, and I glued it to the poster board. this year, my coach had us doing this. She wanted us to make a vision board, and she wanted us to do it not like as a clock, not saying it had to be a circle, but kind of like start at where you are now and kind of create a vision of where you want to be. So it's not like the traditional vision boards of like, oh, I want to be married, I want to be this. Like, yes, so those things are part of your life. Not saying don't put them on there, but it's less about throwing stuff at the board. So a lot of times with vision boards, you end up with so much stuff on the board that you just like, not saying that all those things can't happen in the year, but you just like, it's so much happening. And so one thing she told us was make sure you leave room for white space. And white space is for life to happen. It's for your vision to grow and evolve, because you might see this one thing, but if you believe in a higher power or not, or as life, it might evolve. So let's just say you say, I want to save $1,000, right? But you just this $1,000 check just dropped on you that you don't need. Okay, well now I can save more than $1,000. Like you leave room for the vision to grow. Or maybe you start out saying like, since you host and you do your podcast and everything like that, like I want to host, a certain number of events. And then now you have this opportunity to have your own talk show. Right. Your vision wasn't necessarily the talk show. You were just like, I just want to get out of the community. I want to host one event a month or something like that. And now you have the opportunity for a talk show. So it gives room for you to grow. And as you grow, your vision to grow and your vision to change. And so one thing that I'm working to do this year, like I said, is focusing more on the quarterly and the monthly and less about the year. Because if I'm continuing to set goals month in and quarter out and achieve those goals, I'm going to be a better person. I'm going to be a different person by the end of the year. And maybe the goals that I possibly would have set aren't things that I would have wanted by the end of the year, or they've grown beyond what I could have imagined.
I got you. I like that a lot. Because I'm supposed to be going to a vision board party at the end of the month. And so I started reflecting on that today, because I no lie have I have a vision board in my room with several vision boards from years past in this like encased frame. And I'm like, I look at it because it's pretty, like it catches my attention. But and in all honesty, when I was making it, I did mine I did it in like 5 sections. Like in my brain, I knew there were 5 areas that I wanted to improve. And so that's how I strategically laid out my foundation of trying to do the board. And so I looked at it the other day and I'm like, oh yeah, this area, you still ain't did nothing about that area right there. Of all these years, you still ain't did nothing about that area. Like you still have a goal and it's still there, but Jazz, you ain't did nothing about that area. So do you really want to do something about that area? And you don't, because all these other areas you've done. It's just that one right there. So I thought that was so comical. And I'm like, with the whole, Bible, because like I'm faithful as well, believing in God and as well. And it's like, write the vision, make it plain. And it's like, but when you write it out, you can't just stop at writing it out and making it pretty. You got to really put some work behind it, And so I wondered, if you really, believe in that, because you seem to do it kind of the same way that I would do it. So Alicia, one thing that I want to also thank you for is just really really pouring into my dream. And when I say pouring into my dream, it's just the fact that you really took the time to listen to episodes, because our conversation before this interview, you let me know that you listened, and I'm like, oh, that's so dope. Like, thank you so much. Like on your way to work, like you fit me into your schedule. Like I felt honored. I'm like, wow, like you never know who's looking, you never know who's watching, and all of that good stuff. And you proved that to me. And so of course, the cornerstone to this podcast definitely is the power of the comeback. And we have a lot of similarities, like listening to you talk. We do have a lot of similarities. And one thing that I found is that when people view me, they don't think that I go through things. Like, it's like, come on, everybody's human. We all go through something. And that's the reason why I even did this show, is to show people that even people that you think just have it together, we've had to figure it out. We've had to figure out some things. We may not have done it publicly or loudly, but we do have our things that we have to come back from too. And it's like,
somebody would look at you and look at this episode and just say she has it together. Like, what could she have possibly gone through? Like, she literally has a time for everything. And I love how you interjected and you said that you have to leave time in your schedule for life. And so just like you said, your coach, you know, left that time in to deal with a death in the family. It's like we all are going to go through some things. So is there something that you had to overcome, something that you've had to make a comeback from?
I would say myself because type A personality, the perfectionism. I think my biggest thing is because I love to plan so much, I will stay in planning mode for a
Yeah.
while and sometimes not act. Or I will try to do what others say to do, but not listen to myself. So having to be willing to tune everybody else out and tune into myself. Because with business, like, you know, you have coaches, you see everybody on social media doing all these different things. And as a new business person, like trying to figure out, like, what am I supposed to do? Like, okay, let me just try all the things and then getting overwhelmed and stressing myself out and then getting to the point where not shutting down, but shutting down basically. Like I'm showing up and I'm doing the bare minimum. I'm working out, I'm eating, I'm showing up, I listen to my personal development. But outside of that, you probably don't really got much happening. So getting to the point to where I know me, like this year, or I guess I should say last year, 2023 it was rough,
Yeah.
but it wasn't rough at the same time. It was rough in the sense of I grew a lot. Like when I look at where I am now compared to where I was last year, it's like, okay, girl, okay. And I won't say that I look like what I go through, but at the same time, that's intentional because it's on us to shift our mindset. A phrase that I like to say a lot is if you change your perspective, if you change your mindset, you can change your life. If you change the way that you look at things, if you change the way that you think about things, the way that those things occur are going to change. And so in anything that we go through, like in being stressed out, in being overwhelmed, in trying these different things, in investing, in doing this, in whatever the case may be, I always try to look for the good in it. Yeah. So even though it might have been rough going through it, I'm still like, you know, we're going to get through this because I need this for some reason. We're going to figure out what it is when I get through it, and it's going to be like, oh, that's what that was for. So I always try to have a positive mindset and a positive outlook. That's not to say that I'm not down or anything like that, but old me, growing up me, I had a very bad attitude problem, like anger, whatever. But now it takes a lot more to get me to that level because I realize that if I let them control my emotions, my response, they win.
Yeah.
And I refuse to let them win.
Why did you have that?
I don't really know. I don't know if it was the combination of Black girl, female, smart. So like having to, I don't want to say having to be someone that I wasn't because I was being me, but not often that wasn't the expectation. And I don't mean by like my family. Like my family, like they knew and they, you know, they supported me and all of that. But like in terms of schooling and things like that, them not expecting that because like I would be like, I'm a person that I'm gonna let my work speak for itself. Like, I'm not gonna boast and be like, oh, I got straight A's, I got this, I got that. You gonna just grade this test and you gonna see. And then when I go to apply for honors, AB, IB, whatever the case may be, like that's cool. So I think for me, it was honestly, it ended up being a place of navigating two worlds. Because not that my friends weren't smart, so I don't want to say that, but I was often the only Black girl in the honors and AP classes. But then when it was time for lunchtime and extracurricular activities, my other friends are over here. So having to exist in two worlds and not knowing, I think, how to express that and navigate that is what, and now 33-year-old me looking back is what I think it was.
Yeah. Girl, let me tell you why I love this show. Girl, listen, when I say we are so similar that I'm looking at you and I'm like, good Lord, she's like, the things that you are saying is resonating with me tremendously because with now there are some things that I did go through. Now I seriously have had several comebacks, but when you said just overcoming yourself, girl, that pierced me because you are absolutely right. It's like, you know, I'm so goal oriented that I'm writing everything down. Like that's why I started this story off with telling you that that's what I do. Like, oh, I can do that in my sleep. I can tell you, but it's like I ain't did nothing that I was supposed to do. Like, and why am I falling in this cycle? But yeah, when you, and then of course, speaking of the being the only black girl in the AP classes and all of that, girl, I'm just like, all right, you flashing me back. You taking me back to Bartow High School. So I'm like, okay, yeah, like we share a lot of commonalities like that are very parallel to one another. And so I wanted to know, because I've been seeing you in your marketing is growing, it's engaging your viewers, and I know that you are, getting some traction in your followership. And so if someone books with you, because you yourself have a coach, so what introduced or what attracted you to your coach, and then what do you see attracts people to you?
I think what attracts others to me is like like I said, I'm giving to you straight. Like it's like we having a conversation.
Right.
I'm not trying to be, which is why this is what you got me into. This is me. Like I don't wear makeup. I'm not. If you catch me on some of my stories, you're gonna catch me in my bonnet talking to y'all. Like I don't got time to be trying to get all gussied up. Finding the hidden time in my day isn't about me trying to make myself look all pretty for y'all.
Exactly. I'm credentialed.
Look, myself look pretty. Gonna help me get something done? No. I need to be able to get down with the get down. And so for me, it's being real, being authentic, letting them know that I'm not above y'all. Like, okay, yes, I'm a lawyer. Okay, cool. But I got the same struggles as y'all.
Right.
So for me, that's what I think it is, trying to be, I don't want to say trying, being real, being true, being authentic. Because I remember when I first started coaching, one coach was like, you should pretty much telling me like I shouldn't record in my bonnet and stuff. I'm like, look, if I'm about to go to bed and I got this idea that come to me, because we working on pockets of time.
Right.
Do you want me to not give them the idea because I got this bonnet on, or you want me to take this bonnet off, brush my hair? No, no.
Right.
Oh, you gonna get what you gonna get.
Yes.
But I think, and then the reverse of it in terms of my coach, it was some of that in her. No, and not in negative way. She wears makeup, she presents herself and puts herself out there in a presentable way. But in terms of the things that she says, she's real at the same time. Like, girl, why?
Yeah.
You said you wrote the content. Why you didn't post it? I don't know. What you mean you don't know? You wrote it. You did the hard part. You wrote it. Why you ain't post it?
Right.
So like things like that. And actually, even though the funny thing is, even though like I'm more about one-on-one coaching as opposed to group coaching, the program that I'm in is a group coaching program, and like having those different dynamics and those different personalities works well for me in that regard. But then I also work with her one-on-one as well. So for working with her, it was kind of the personality of her and her saying things that resonated, that kind of made me feel like, okay, you've been through something that I done been through, and I got you, girl. We here.
Yes. Do you think everybody should have a coach?
Yes.
Tell me why. Because I think this is along the lines of people saying that everyone should have therapy as well, or have a therapist as well.
Everybody needs help, whether that's coaching, therapy, and honestly, therapy and coaching are very similar. It's just therapy is your past and coaching is like your present to your future, is I think the main distinction. But essentially, because there's a lot of modalities that you can learn in coaching that are utilized in therapy.
Okay. That sounds good. So
I say that yes, everybody needs, whether it's a coach, a mentor, whatever word you want to use for the person, you need somebody. Because there's only so many things that your friends are going to be able to help you with. Because sometimes, depending on your friend, because they are your friend, they want your best interest. And I'm not saying that your coaches and things like that don't as well, but because they know other stuff about you or have seen you go through other things, sometimes that personal bias gets in the way. Just like if you got something going on, you know which one of your friends to call if you want to get somebody who's going to hype you up, or if you got somebody who's going to talk you off the ledge. Or you got the one who might be in the middle and who can do both, depending on what it's like. You have some of those friends who you know that no matter if you call them and you know you dead wrong, they're going to tell you that you're right. And then you have the ones who are
Exactly.
willing to call you out and say, no, you wrong. So you need somebody, like you need this unbiased person who's, though they are invested in you because they want to see you win, because especially if it's a coach, they want to be like, that was my
Yeah.
student. Like they learned from me. They like, even when I was talking about the vision board thing, like my coach didn't tell me to get on here and talk about this white space, but when she said it and the way she explained it, I was like, you know what? This is kind of what I've been doing, but I didn't really have a way to explain it or why I was doing it, and you put words to it. So you need help. Like in corporate, in all these settings, they create these tiers of mentorship, of training, you know, depending on your field of work, your continuing education.
Right.
Like you need somebody to help you continue to grow and learn. Because I like to say, if you're not growing, you're dying. So you want to stay stuck, or you want to go to the next level, whatever that might be.
Yeah. I love that. I love that. And I think that is a great cornerstone to end the interview on, because that's a truly great nugget. And I'm taking it. Like I'm taking notes in my head, but I literally have my pad down, just like you have your pad in front of you. I have my pad down here, and I always go back and I listen to the interviews again to give me, some good nuggets, because why not? Like that's why I have you here. So Alicia, I am so grateful that you were able to fit the Jazzy Conversations with Jazz podcast into your schedule. Like I think you just had a coaching session and then you jumped on here. So the queen of productivity. If you guys need a coach, Coach Lee is definitely the professional for you. So tell us how they can keep in contact with you, and then how they can schedule a session with you, Alicia. Coach Lee. We're going to call you Coach Lee here today.
Yes. Look, I be trying to hide from my clients. I'm a criminal defense attorney. I don't need to find it. And in odd to the legal aspect of me, I'm legally. So legal, LEGALLE everywhere. TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, Clubhouse. And then my website is www.legally.me as well. You can book a call. You can just send me a DM, send me a message. I check my message folders in case we're not following each other or something like that. But I'm legally.me everywhere. So that's the no to my legal aspect, while also keeping me hidden in a little in somewhat of a space.
Listen, and I intentionally didn't go really in that realm, because I want to talk to you with what you want to do in terms of your business and all of this goodness that you have outside of that, because I know you deal with that all day. You deal with both of them all day, but you're definitely talented. You are great at what you do, and I've been watching your journey, and so I just wanted to say kudos to you. I hope you have a fantastically dope 2024, full of not only goal setting but goal crushing, because look, we are goal diggers over here on this show. So thank you so much for your time. Thank you for your wisdom. Thank you for your nuggets that you have given. Definitely hook her into your calendar. Like, you definitely should schedule a session with her and tell her that I sent you. All right. So thank you so much, Coach Lee, for being my special guest for episode 106 of the Jazzy Conversations with Jazz podcast, airing every Monday here on IG Live, also over on Facebook, and you can catch the replay on YouTube. So subscribe. Make sure you hit that follow button, and make sure that you hit the notifications bell while you're there. And don't forget that now is the time for a dope comeback. So in 2024, we are not only goal setting, but we are goal getting. All right. So it's so much more in store in 2024. I will see you next Monday. See you later, Coach Lee.
Good night.
Thank you. Good night.